Good afternoon. Happy Cinco de Mayo, May the 5th. Mark Milam here, your mortgage professional with Highland Mortgage. Let's get right to it. Boy, no shortage of information this week to digest as we talk about the impact on our markets, especially mortgage-backed securities. We started out the week with a full slate on the economic calendar, including the Federal Reserve announcement on Wednesday that they're going to hike the Fed funds rate by 0.25%. Oddly enough, that was one of the least eventful things that happened this week. Why? Because the mortgage market had already priced in that quarter-point rate hike. Everyone pretty much knew that's what the Fed was going to do. The futures had it at 85%. Sure enough, that's what the Fed did, and we really saw no deterioration in mortgage interest rates as a result of that Fed funds rate hike. Remember, the Fed does not set mortgage rates. They set the overnight lending rate to banks and financial institutions. Mortgage interest rates are much more set by the movement in the 10-year Treasury or the trading of mortgage-backed securities. So ultimately, we did not see our pricing deteriorate on that day. As a matter of fact, pricing improved on Wednesday. But what happened the rest of the week was a bit of a mixed bag. We saw job openings come in lower than expected. That's the right way. We want to be shedding job openings to try to get the labor market more in balance. But then today, not so much good news for the job market, still running hotter than anticipated. Let's take a look here at what's happening with mortgage-backed securities. You can see this was Wednesday, May the 3rd, when the Fed made the Fed funds rate announcement. Mortgage-backed securities actually improved upon the day, meaning interest rates got better. This was Thursday, yesterday, and of course today. What's happening here is largely centered around what's been going on in the labor market. We'll turn to that in a minute. You can see this is where the Fed raised the Fed funds rate by 1/4 point. We had initial jobless claims coming in right about expectations yesterday, and then today getting some bad news. Non-farm payrolls up 253,000 over the last month. That's against an estimate of just under 180,000. Unemployment now dipping to 3.4% versus an estimate of 3.5%. Remember though, unemployment only counts those who are seeking work but don't have it yet. So if you're seeking work, you don't have it yet, you're counted in that unemployment figure. If you're not working, but you're not looking for work, you are not counted in that unemployment figure. And so that unemployment figure can be a bit misleading as it pertains to the overall health of the economy. The big news was in job openings. We got some news that the JOLTS report, job openings, labor turnover, came in and fell more than expected in March to the lowest level in nearly 2 years. Job vacancies totaled 9.59 million for the month, and that was down from 9.9 million in February, much lower than expectations. So when you take a look at job openings, this is where we ended up 9,000 or a little over 9.5 million, job openings, and that's the right direction. We peaked around 12 million job openings this time last year, March of 2022. So now we're March of 2023, we're down at 9.5. So how far does this have to drop before the Fed says uncle? Well, for that, let's zoom out a little bit. This is the exact same chart, but on a much larger window. And you can see that pre-pandemic, we were right around 7 million here in job openings, 7 million. That's really where the Fed would like to be. So we've shaved off, what is that, about 3 million? We've got another 2 to 2.5 million, well, really 3 million to go to get back down to that 7 million mark. And ultimately, this next 3 million is going to be a lot harder to shed than the first 3 million. As you get lower and lower, obviously shedding more and more jobs becomes more difficult. So there's a long way to go before our job openings mirror where we started pre-pandemic, and that's exactly what our Federal Reserve Chairman wants to see. And then we'll close out with one more thing this week. Fannie Mae reported its first quarter profitability metrics for January, February, March of this year. Now, the housing market has been in a recession since June of 2022 by whatever metric you want to state, whether it's applications, the resale activity, inventory, number of transactions out there. The housing market has been in a recession now since halfway through 2022. But that seems to have not affected Fannie Mae very much. When you take a look at their Q1 profitability, Fannie at $3.8 billion in net profitability in the first 3 months of this year. So while a lot of lenders were going out of business and a whole lot of folks were unable to afford mortgages due to the reduced affordability, Fannie Mae more than doubled its profitability in the first quarter to $3.8 billion, despite overall revenue falling. That just means they're making more on less, folks. That's the reality, and that is in large part thanks to those pricing penalties that have gotten a lot of press over the past couple of months. If I can be of any service to you over the weekend, don't hesitate to reach out, mark.milam@highlandmtg.com. Have a good weekend.